Herbolic V2. This is a super safe and effective natural anabolic. Not only is this product going to help you increase protein synthesis, which basically means muscle recovery and growth, it also may inhibit myostatin, which is a protein in your body that is known to inhibit muscle growth. This is a complete natural anabolic that works through multiple different pathways, has multiple trademarked ingredients. If you are a natural athlete looking for that edge, Herbolic V2 is what you need. Get yourself some.
Children are, hi guys, welcome back to the Prophecy Code. If you heard me wrapping up a really quick sentence before that greeting to you, it's me, Christina, and we've got Danika here, and we're both also mothering while we're recording today. So you might hear me tell Claire to go watch K-pop Demon Hunters for the 17th time.
Yes.
And Danika's got Jada. Wait, how old is she? She's your younger one, right?
Yeah, Jada's 5.
Yes. Okay. Oh, is she going into kindergarten?
First grade.
First. Oh, when does she turn 6?
October. But we could have held her, so our 8-year-old we held back, which was a good idea. Like for social skills and also speech, we held her back. But her preschool teacher was like, get her out, like for Jada. Like she's good. Get her out.
Yeah. I love that. Well, so it works that we have kids all around us because we were going to talk about kind of like a variety of different things with kids and the lifestyle and like all of that kind of stuff. And then we were hammering it out and I was like, in, true Christina form, I was like, let's just record it and then see where we go. So welcome to the Hangout, guys. Let's see, when this one goes out, it will be September. That's crazy. Your kids will be back in school next week by the time this one comes out.
Next week, Thursday, so September 4th, we finally get to it because I feel like it's, now that it's here, it's been like, it feels like a long summer, but then when it comes, you're like, oh my gosh, like it's here already. Like, wait a minute, where did the summer go? But everyone's ready. Like everyone needs to acclimate like back into a really good rhythm and routine and not feel very disoriented all the time.
Yeah. Like I felt guilty saying over the last 2 weeks being like, I can't wait for them to go to school. As soon as I would feel that like bubble up, I would instantly be like, Christina, you asshole, in a couple of years, they're not going to want to cuddle with you. And then you're going to be sad. And like, so then I'd like instantly put myself into the shame spiral. Like you can't think that way. But there is just beauty in the routine again, right? Like, and just having things be consistent and like the time blocking of the day, like stresses me out to a certain extent, but then also, I had a conversation yesterday with a friend whose ADHD is equally as bad. And we were talking about like time blocking and things like that and how important it is for our days for us to do that. And school, especially like if you're the main chauffeur parent, it helps, but it also kind of makes it a pain in the butt, right? Like, you're experiencing it this week where you're going back and forth between camps and things like that. With Claire in preschool, thank God the other 3 kids all go to the same school. Like they're all in a K-8 situation. So right now we've got like a kindergartner, a 5th grader, and a 7th grader. So I'll get 2 years where they're all together. But then, it's driving 30 minutes in the one direction to get them to school. And then 3 hours later, Claire's the other direction, but she's only there for 2 hours. And so by the time I get back from dropping her off, now 15 minutes have passed, and so then you got to book, like plan for when do I have to leave? So then I'll get home and be like, I have an hour and a half. Ready, go.
Yeah.
Work as fast as you can. Or like, so, one of the things that we had thought about talking today was like how we figure out just getting shit done when we know it's all going to come at us. And then also kind of navigating like the conversations and relationships and like how things can shift, or I guess how should I put it? Like the feedback you get when you live a lifestyle that's kind of focused the way that ours is, more with stuff that you might get from people who don't understand it.
Yeah.
And all of that. So I feel like it's a good like back to school episode where it's like, here's how to keep your head on straight when it comes to getting shit done, and also when you want to knock somebody else's head off of their shoulders because they can't zip it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
do feel that like regimen and routine, because I can even tell as much as you like to have a schedule for the summertime, there's just something that's really beautiful about for them structurally and having organization for them during their day that is not attached to what mom is telling you to do or what dad is kind of structuring in for you. So, and I feel like that's such an important skill for them to be able to know that like there are going to be other authority figures, quote unquote, in their lives where they have to kind of follow the routine and follow the regimen. Like typically when you're in a work environment, given whatever your choice is, but you do have like a work schedule and like you have responsibilities. So I feel like hearing it from another person is really important for them. And I can tell when they're starting to get like, they're craving it. Like when they're starting to crave a little bit more structure than what mom is providing, or they just don't want to hear my voice anymore. And they're like, ah, here we go again. Like they just don't want to hear it.
Yeah, no, I firmly believe in that. And like this is something that crosses over. Like if you're not a parent, you're like, oh, I'm already bored. A lot of this stuff just works like with adults, like in the same situations too. I mean, I've had clients where I, after, a certain time of working with them was like, yeah, it might be a good idea for you to go work with this coach within the team or something for a different voice, because sometimes we just need to hear. You know how sometimes you like the cover of a song more than the original? Like it's kind of the same vibe where you're getting the same message and maybe it just didn't jive the first time. And so like with kids, I totally think that um I mean, I could make separate arguments, right? Because like for a while we were like a homeschool family. So then I think back to then where if you get into like homeschool groups, especially like, oh my God, if you ever dare like a homeschool Facebook group and go read people's opinions about each other. And it's like, oh, I can't believe they put kids in schools to learn how to stand in lines and raise their hands and like be people. I'm like, well, they have to learn how to do that so they can stand in the line of the DMV and not throw a temper tantrum when you're 35 and you find it fucking irritating. And so like these are life skills that we do need to learn. And I think sometimes the parents or maybe you're in a situation where it's your boss or like whatever it is, becomes like that Charlie Brown voice of just like the wah wah wah, and you're like tuning it out. And maybe it's not even that you realize that you're doing it, but I think there is something to the fact that like if you're consistently, like sometimes it's good to shake it up, get different people saying things, get different perspectives, see how they deliver it. And, school has always been one of those things for me. And I think especially because we've never had a very big, like village with stuff. We've moved a lot, or we were away from family, or they're just not putting in the effort to be around with stuff, like things like that. And so I've always really tried to lean into those relationships with things because I'm like, here you are. This is like a job that you've chosen. This is something that you love, and you're getting to meet my child. And I want my child to have a circle of people who love them, who are supporting them becoming adults or becoming a better 5-year-old. Like we've got a kindergartner back in school right now. And it's so interesting with like having a middle schooler and then somebody who's about to be in middle school and then starting over with kindergarten again. Because it was like stupid stuff. Like they want Ben to put his snacks in the front pocket of his backpack, not in the lunchbox, because then that would be confusing. And he does cafeteria lunch because we get free lunch at our school. So I'm like, you best believe you're going to go eat the free lunch. And it gets them to eat new foods is like what I love about it. Ben's excessively picky. So if they're like Riker, for example, our oldest, when he went to first grade, he would not eat peanut butter or pizza was like the weirdest. Neither of those foods would he like touch at all. And then we sent him to school and they would do things like pizza for lunch or whatever. And then he would try new things just because he was in this environment where like other people are having it and stuff. But then helping him navigate, like learning the silly rules where like, okay, it doesn't make sense to you, but this is what makes the whole classroom work smoother. And like, sometimes we have to do that. And then figuring out the ways around it for like, okay, how do I tackle something if it's not exactly the way I want it to be? And like, it doesn't always look that way, but I can't remember if we said this in our pre-conversation or while we were recording with stuff, but like, setting them up with these skills so that they know how to communicate in these situations, so they know how to like hold themselves in these situations, because then it crosses over to other things. Like we're always saying, it's not just food, it's not just fitness or activity or whatever. It's learning how to sit in lines. It's learning how to listen to other people tell you things that you're trying to learn. And so sometimes I think that, we can all kind of put ourselves back into that like kindergarten seat and go back to learning.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a conversation like with my mom and I guess with my husband too, but I said, what's interesting is so the saying of like, and I know I'm going to get some pushback, but you know what? Here we go. Like let kids be kids. And I love it because I think that there is a place and a time. Like let kids be kids and like I don't know, Jada's 5. Sometimes I'm like, you want to run around butt ass naked after your shower? Do you, boo? Because I can't do that really. I mean, I could, but I don't know if it's like socially acceptable. But the whole like let kids be kids and then extending it to everything, like at what point are we like, oh yeah, they're going to be adults though? So like when shouldn't we be equipping them like and raising them like they're going to be adults because they are going to be adults. So there are going to be things that they have to learn now to be adults, like to be successful, functioning, like they're going to be good in the community adults, right? So Matt and I very much parent like that, where we're recognizing that how will this benefit them when they're adults? Because that doesn't stop. It's not like, oh, do you want to be an adult soon? It doesn't just stop.
Yeah. I had to remind myself of that a lot of times, especially with Cora. So she's 10, but because of cheer, she hangs with a lot of older girls, and then she's got interest in like the older girl stuff. So like she's not allowed to have social media. They have iPads, but they're on like all the kids block stuff and things like that. Everybody else her age has cell phones and TikTok and like all of this. And I'm like, absolutely not. I mean, I don't know if you, on the first day of school, I was like, can I do pigtails? Like how many years can I still get away with sending you to school in pigtails? And, but she's at this phase with, essentially trying to assert herself is like what it looks like in the immediacy as her mom when she's arguing with me and she's just so fucking wrong. And I'm like, child, how are you grown with this level of audacity in your body that you could talk to me like this, like right now, as somebody who doesn't know anything and doesn't pay their own bills? How do you have the confidence to speak this way to me? And so we're struggling a lot with the argument. Don't open your mouth if you don't know what you're talking about. Like something yesterday, her brother had said something and she was like, no, it's not. And like I forget what it was, but what he said was 100% true. So then I was like, all right, walk me down that path, Cora. What do you know about this? Like, why are you so confident that you said that? And I'm like, no, you're at the point now where you're old enough that like, if you're going to do this, you better be prepared for what's going to come back at you. And if this is the route you're choosing, that you want to be the person who knows things and who can argue things and stuff like that, then you're not going to be lazy about it. You better fucking know the things. Like, we're not making guesses around here and then looking stupid when we lose arguments. If you're going to open your mouth, be ready for it. And like, if that's what you want to learn how to be able to do, let's do it. And then I'll tell myself like, when she's 22 and she's out of college and she's at her first job and somebody talks to her like a certain sort of way or something, I'm going to want her to be able to hold herself confidently and argue and feel good about that kind of stuff. I just don't want her to do it to me right now, which is not how it works, obviously, right? And to keep myself from, I mean, I looked at Vic the other day and it's never anything huge, right? It's never some giant argument where the topic is, it's like stupid little stuff. And then, but we'll get so frustrated with each other. And I was like, I'm gonna tell her she has to move out. Like, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, I can't deal with these arguments. And she's only 10. And so I'm like, I can't wait until 16. This is gonna be so much fun. But I try to tell myself, like, maybe like this will turn into something when they're showing those little inklings of like, this is who they are at their core. And it might be frustrating or not polished up yet as like a personality trait. They're learning how to be humans. That's the number one thing in our house. And I try to tell this to my clients when it comes to like other like stuff, when it comes to fitness and like things like that too. Like today is the first time I have been 38 and the mom of kids between 3 and 12 on August 28th. First time. Right. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what happens in the September I turned 30, like I was 38. Like, and so I'm still learning how to be a mom, how to be a woman in her late 30s, how to be like all of these kinds of things. And so like we try to give our kids like the same grace with it, as long as they're not being like mean or butt heads. We're like, it's, you're supposed to make mistakes. Things are supposed to be hard because you've never been 10 before and you don't know what you're doing. But if we go into it with an open mind and like, I want to learn how to do all of these things, that's where it shifts and it gets a lot easier. And I feel like every generation probably says this about everything, right? But it's like, it feels like today we're doing as little of that as possible, where people are having that kind of like, I want to learn, I want to have conversations, I want to do those things. And so you had brought up a little bit about talking about like getting, not like, would you say flack? Or like just like feedback, I guess, about like lifestyle decisions or like
straight up judgment.
Oh, I love that. Yes. So let's dive into it because I'm sure that we talked a little bit about how we've both had clients that have had like shitty family members.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But let's dive in there. Like, let's get into the feedback. What do you hear?
Yeah. I think I've had it for like for a majority of my life, like the assumptions of like people having this perception of me, or people having like they're assuming I'm like a specific way based off of 1% of the interaction that they have with me, or seeing me at face value and then having assumptions based off of that. And you brought up such a good point. I think that people, which is super interesting, I try to really encourage my daughters to do this, but like to be curious. Like, you don't know all of the information. You have no idea unless you are literally asking questions about something, right? So before you I just had this conversation, I just had it with my daughters this morning because they were like, Mom, I think so-and-so acts like that because she's spoiled. And I said, well, that's interesting because you've had 2 interactions with her and you don't know. You can't just say she's spoiled. Like, it doesn't work like that. And we have to be curious about things. Like, we should gather a little bit more information before we're just assuming something. But that's always happened. And getting flack or getting judgment, I think my parenting style is one of them, where the parenting style, the boundaries that we set when it comes to nutrition is a big one. Now, let me just throw this out there. Like, here's the boundaries. Everything's on the table. Everything, right? Everything and anything's on the table. We are going to make sure that we are fueling our body. We have fuel food, we have fun food. There's no bad, there's no good, there's no right, wrong, there's no, there's like nutrient density. We're going to educate. There's sometimes stuff, right? There's social gathering stuff. And the way that we approach it is like let's listen to your body. What does your body need right now? Like, what is that going to provide you? Like educating them and moderation. So like if a kid wants to have a whole cake to themselves, I probably would set a few boundaries and say, well, that's such an interesting thing. How do you feel your body's going to feel after that? And explore it. So if that's strict, I don't even know. Like, I don't know what to think anymore.
So, I mean, I gave my opinion earlier, right? Where we were chatting this out a little bit. And like my immediate feeling is anybody who's giving you shit for that is self-centered, right? Where they're bothered by how this is affecting their enjoyment of it. But then when you say it that way, the way you just put it too, the other thing that makes me think is that maybe the reason why, and this isn't me saying they should bristle. This is me saying I can see where they're going to find themselves on this path, right? Is that takes effort. And you and I talk to a lot of people who aren't willing to do that amount of education for themselves, much less bother with their children, right? And so, I mean, how many people have we talked to where we'll mention flexible dieting? Hey, so for this first week, I'm going to need you to log things and do a food recall. From there, we're going to understand better what your body is used to getting, like that's very unique to you, and we'll move forward. And they're like, ugh, I don't want to do that. Can't you just give me a meal plan? Like, they don't even want to pick out their own fucking cereal in the morning. They want me to tell them what brand and where to buy it. And it's like, how are you going to maintain things when it comes to this if we're not putting in the effort to understand the basics of it, right? And like, I mean, so you and I mean, we have like a very similar approach with it, but we do stuff differently. And a lot of it, I think, like it can't be discounted that your experience as a coach and your experience as a mother and just your experience as a human being in general, much less somebody who works in this industry, is going to be affected by type 1. Like, it's just going to, because it's like you could, I mean, I don't want Jada's in the room. Like, Danica could die if she messes up her medication. Like, like if we don't have something for you when you hit like a weird low or something like that, things could be crazy. And so like you have more to think about. It's not just food. It's a lot of different things. It's medication, it's fun, it's fuel, it's all of these different things. And so it has all of these layers to it. For my kids, right? So like ADHD runs rampant in this house, and trying to do like the little things to help support them through their day. And like my kids are not big eaters, like in one sitting at all. They are snackers and grazers. And especially after summer, like, and because Vic and I both work and we're busy a lot of the day, they've had an entire summer of me just being like, the pantry, like, go for it, whatever. Now, and I'll say this, there's probably people who come into my house and think that we're weirdos because we have a lock on our pantry. It's childproofed. Up at the top, that is not because I'm trying to restrict like my children calorically. It's because I'm restricting the fact that right now I know Claire has no less than 3 different open snacks around my house that she's not going to finish and I'm going to throw away. And I find that irritating. And so we childproofed it, so that the short people can't reach the top of it and get in. But I do the same thing with them where, luckily they're all in sports essentially, except for Claire. So we lean really heavily into the performance side of things and like push that. They've seen Vic and I be in these situations where they know we go work out. We usually walk in with a protein shake, then we go take our shower. We carry a water bottle everywhere, and things like that. And so, I mean, I lined them up. Protein's a big thing that can be really helpful with ADHD and making sure that they get enough, and keeping them steady. And I learned more yesterday from a friend of mine that I'm really excited about. So I started my own little like client podcast. And so I had a friend of mine on that one. And he has dove so deeply into like ADHD and like the chemical side behind it and stuff. And he was talking about collagen for helping with like GABA production. And so not just making sure they get like protein in the mornings, which I was always doing, but he was talking about how he makes sure with his kids they get a scoop of collagen, because then that helps throughout the day to kind of smooth things out. But like the kids can have whatever they want. I'll tell them, go find your breakfast. 9 times out of 10, they're going to go make themselves some Eggos, and then they're going to snack around the house while I yell at them to get dressed. And then before we leave the house, I lined up the 3 biggest ones, and Cora and Ben got Fairlife milk, and Riker got an actual protein shake because he's my size. And I was like, ready, go, chug. Like, if this is what you're going to do, and you didn't choose something, like they had Greek yogurt and fruit, and I gave them all of these other options, but they didn't choose them that day. And I was like, fine, then you're going to chug your protein because you're getting it in one way or another. And I mean, I've had the conversation with each of them too, where I'm like, Riker, you're 100 pounds. I want you, like, you should be, because he packs his lunch. Did you get 50 grams of protein throughout the day? Like, you drank that shake this morning. How much does your lunchbox have? Because we're not just taking chips, cookies, a banana. Like, he'll pack it with like 6 things of like breakfast cereal or something, 12-year-old boy choices. And I'm like, no, you have to look like, where's the thing that makes mom happy, the thing that makes Riker happy, and then your protein is basically like the way that we look at it. And I mean, we do the same stuff where everything is allowed. I think people are pretty surprised, like when I talk to new clients and stuff, how often we eat out, and especially like drive-throughs and stuff, which I mean, I don't love. I have a refrigerator full of groceries that are currently going bad because I was like, we are going to cook. I don't care if we have practices. We're cooking. It's not that. No, I'm going to throw away like $200 worth of shit that's currently in that I bought like 10 days ago, and we haven't had time. But then I make sure they know like their options in those places too. And so it's that communication piece. Now, is it fun? Were the kids happy with me when I say, no, Ben, you do have to finish your chocolate milk? Or like, do they want to argue with me about that kind of stuff? But it goes back to the idea that they're kids and they need guidance. And that's our responsibility. Like, yes, they're supposed to have a fun life. And I stress myself out like beyond belief around whether or not I'm making my kids' childhoods as fun and memorable as possible. And I know you do the same thing. And, then so to have people where it's like, we get the sports one, right? Where people think like we have the kids in all of these sports because like we're living vicariously through them or something. And like family members who are like, well, why can't you come to our house? Oh, well, we have cheer. Oh, your kids do so much. Just because you like to work out that much doesn't mean your kids need to do that much, and things like that. I'm like, bro, this is her choice. I would love to not spend a mortgage on cheer. Like,
Right? If only they knew.
it was a huge pain in the ass. We didn't get to go to bed until like 10 o'clock because of practice.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's just super interesting to me that like people will always have judgment, I think, especially when there's this like undercurrent of like there's cultural things, there's an emotional tie, there's traditional tie, there's like a generational thing. With nutrition, I think like it gets so hairy that it makes people reflect on their own choices, and that makes them uncomfortable. So then like instead of just being curious about things and saying like, oh wait, everyone can have their own way, like it's okay. And what are your intentions? Like, if I were to go into your house and I saw like a lock, for me to be like, automatically assume, like, oh, she's done competitions. Oh, she's a health and fitness coach. I bet the reason why she has a lock on there is to restrict them, right? Like, I could see how that would happen instead of being like, hey, that's so interesting that you have that up there. What do you do that for? Yeah, like just ask questions instead of assuming things. It forever bothers me because I've been called too intense, and I'm like, too intense? Like,
Wait,
please,
do you
please,
know how much I'm holding back?
please tell me how intense I am when my cardio is walking. Like, and I get maybe 3 times a week, I get a good lift in, if that. And my coach here tells me, get a good 2 miler. Like, that is not intense. Like, that
Right.
is
And like no other parameters. Go have fun.
go have fun. Like, that's not intense. So, like, I really feel sometimes, and I know for me, what's triggering is feeling misunderstood, or feeling like no one really understands a type 1 diabetic life unless you're living it. And I don't look like anything's wrong with me, so then they don't even understand it. But I wish people were just more curious, or explored things more. Like, if you are wanting to invest in a lifestyle, I guess, like, you have to understand all the things that are going to come with that lifestyle too. And if you want it to radiate throughout your family, right? Then you're going to have to expect there to be maybe not questioning, but like maybe judgment, right? And it is what it is. Like, I think as hurtful as it is sometimes, not everybody's going to be curious and ask questions unless they do want to embody the same type of thing. And guess what? If they don't, I love the people that are confidently like, I get it. Like, some people I've had one family member that was like, I get you. You and your husband think about nutrition, where I think about how is it going to taste. So you think nutrition first and how it's going to taste, and then I think about how it tastes, and I don't even think about nutrition. And that's fine. And I was like, Roger that. Like, that's your choice. This is my choice. I love that we can be like confident in like what we're choosing. And that was that. Like, do you?
Right. I mean, that, right? Like just the do you and like the why do you care? Right? Like why is how I'm approaching this or how I'm doing this affecting you enough that you felt the need to have like an uncomfortable conversation with me about it, right? Because like I used to love with like getting pulled into that kind of stuff in situations. Like if somebody would find out like, oh, you do that, and then they'd start to ask questions and be like, oh, great. And like if somebody is genuinely like, oh, I just started that stuff, and could you explain and like dive into things? And it's like, yeah, totally. Let's have a conversation. But now anymore, if somebody starts something off with a conversation like that, I'm like, I'm not working right now. Like, I'm not doing this with you. Like, I'm not here to protect or defend or feel the need to explain myself when it comes to those kinds of things if it's not from a place of genuine curiosity, like you're saying, where it's like, I want to understand it better. And you can tell how those conversations are going to go, whether it's about food, whatever it is, right? If they instantly, yeah, well, I would, but, or, like they always go that route. Yeah, I would do that, but I work. Yeah, I would try to focus on that, but my knees hurt. Like something comes up where it's like they're actually a professional in what you do and they know everything you do. They just don't actually do that because they're busy, and they give off like that kind of vibe. I'm like, I don't have time for your shit anymore. And I feel like the best, like when it comes to all of that, like I'll tell clients when I have somebody this weekend they don't want the people they're going to be with to know they're trying to lose weight. They were like, it's not like good for our relationship when they have these conversations. Like, I don't want to bring it up. I don't want it to be a thing. So how do I do that while I'm in this family situation? And I was like, don't bring it up. Like, why would anybody know? Like, are they going to open up your inbox and check for my emails? Like, if this is something that's private to you, then the only way that anybody else in your life finds out about it is if you open your mouth. And so, like, if you want to protect that, I'm here for that. I don't think you should have to. Let's talk a bit more about why these people aren't supporting you and how we navigate that. But, like, in the meantime, here are the decisions and the personal boundaries that we need to set walking into this situation, so that first of all, you feel good not saying anything and not having to communicate in a way that you're not comfortable with. Then on top of that, let's have some boundaries and try to do as much planning as we can so that you can walk into this like family social gathering filled with food and alcohol, because we're going into a holiday weekend. And like, if you're stressed out about that, but you also don't want them to know you're putting effort towards it, then you better have your game plan ready. And like, we don't have time to be standing there looking confused and trying to add up macros in our head. And so let's lay down some ground rules for how we approach this. And, 9 times out of 10 in a situation like that, I'm going to say the exact same thing I did about like with your training and stuff, where it's like, okay, well then let's just be chill. Like, we go back to the very, very basics where we don't need an app. We don't need a food scale. We don't need target numbers and things like that. It's one meal. You're going to be at this event for 3 hours. God forbid it's 4 that you got to be at it. Okay? You're not going to waste away and perish because you chose not to snack during that time frame. Even if you didn't eat all day, like you could still go, what is it? You can go 3 weeks without food or something. Like, you're not going to die if you walk in and don't have a burger. There's things that we could do to set you up for success ahead of time so that you feel full the moment you walk in. You feel confident, you feel strong. We've talked through some things and all of that. But like, I mean, we've talked a lot about like boundaries with stuff today, I feel like. And a lot of people could probably do better with being able to firmly erect those boundaries, because I think a lot of people have wishy-washy ones. And then that's what gets them in trouble, is that in their mind, they're like, this is how I went into this. This is what I said I was going to do. And then, 3 to 4 hours later, it's like, how'd those boundaries go? And it's like, well, it was hard. And so I didn't do them. And it's like,
Yeah, boundaries are hard. Also, being like how I think too, the way that people approach a conversation is so interesting to me. Or like, say for instance, again, it's the assumption or like lack of knowledge. Like if somebody said to you, you're really going to mess up your kids having them involved in that many sports. And so whenever I'm like, oof, oh, I forgot. I'm working, like sarcastic me would be like, oh, I forgot. You're the expert. Sometimes the way that I approach those situations are like, I'm so happy that you brought that up, because you may have done your research on this, and like you may have like read a bunch of articles and read a couple of books on it, but I've actually conversated with a couple of people specific to this thing, and here's what I've learned. Like, it almost like takes away their ammo when you're like, I'm so happy you brought that up. What a great topic to discuss. Like, thank you so much for this, because I can't wait to be more educated than I already am on this.
teach me. Oh, references, please. I would love to follow up with where you got your information. Could you please tell me where? Yeah, and listen, this goes back to the Cora thing that I was saying earlier, right? Where I was like, look, if you want to be the person who argues points and who corrects people, I will support you. I'm the queen of that. Like, that is my personality. But the thing is, like, if I stake a claim to something, and I'll be pretty careful, especially on the podcast, right? Because being on the podcast, and especially since the Pro Physique one, I mean, we're past like 1.5 million unique downloads. There's a lot of people, like you said earlier, you're like, I'm probably going to catch it for this. Like, there's different things where if I don't know something 100%, then I'll say that. I will say, now I'm not 100% sure, but like, this is where I got this idea, and like put the disclaimer with it. But with something else, if I have like put a claim on it, you best believe I will be prepared with receipts for where I got my information and defend it. Because for me, the worst thing that could happen is to be, well, not the worst thing, but like kind of, since that was my gut reaction, is like being proven wrong or something about like, I hate that. And so then I just won't open my mouth in certain situations too. Like if I don't have opinion or I don't know, I'll go with the good old Danika of, well, that's interesting. And then just not say anything else. Like,
I love that one.
I wish I could deliver it your way. This morning, it was so funny. I was talking to Vic and I said, I forget how we got here, but he said something where he was like, but you're always that way. And like this morning, I was like, I wasn't grumpy, but it was like, we got home from Teddy Swims last night at midnight, got up this morning at 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in the car on the way to school to drop the kids off. And I was like, did you know there's like a lot of people in this world who think I'm a very chipper person? And he goes, who? Yeah, Christina, there's a lot of people who don't know you. I know.
Oh,
Shut
no.
Sure. But like I forget why there was a connection back to the Cora story when it comes to stuff. But like being able to really put that work in and get that information, not be a headline reader, because I mean, we're out here with news companies straight out saying, we're not news, we're entertainment. We're going to do whatever is going to get you to watch more and to buy more. Like they're blatantly telling us. And yet there's still a ton of people who are super comfortable reading, that 60% of a sentence preview on Threads, where that's all you get and you don't even know what the end of the sentence was. And they're like, oh, well, I saw on the internet. That like this is happening. I saw something today that said that the NFL had banned everything rainbow and multicolored. And I saw it in a post and I was like, really? And like, so I hop on over to the internet and check it right away. And no, it's not real. But there was like, I went back to that post and there was like all of these other ones that were made to look exactly like it. And it had like the breaking, just like ESPN and stuff. And I was like, there's probably a significant number of people who scrolled past that today and they were like,
yeah.
whoa. And then that was the end of it. And now they're going to go tell people and they're going to spread this word and they're going to say, look at the post. And there's no extra information. And that level of laziness, I can't even understand, because I'm like, you're putting yourself into a position for somebody to be like, no, idiot, why didn't you read about it? So like take the 2 seconds, learn a little bit more, figure out these lifestyles. Like anybody who would give you shit about the way that you're parenting, well, first of all, I mean, punch them in the throat because it's your fucking house. But like anybody who is going to have the audacity to go that way and then not ask for a like family history or an understanding, and then also offer up, here's how I can help. Like, let me be there for you. How can I be supportive? That sounds like a lot of things to think about, Danika. How is that? Like, and it never comes with that kind of stuff. It just comes with the judgment. And that's what's so outrageously frustrating.
Yeah. And I think like being judged is not fun, right? Like, and what's really unfortunate is people who are involved. I've seen this, we've done a podcast on this, right? Where I think it was, I don't think that Stephen necessarily liked this one, but I was like, we can go places here. Like, let's just try. And it was like fit shaming.
I do remember that one. I mean, I think that it was one of the ones where I got quiet and let the two of you do it.
Yeah.
Now that we don't have to deal, how do we do that?
Well, I think that like, because it's going against the grain, and unfortunately, when you look at average, like what average includes in society now, I think that like when you do live a whatever fit and healthy lifestyle, right? Like, and that can just include you are mindful about nutrition, like you are cognizant about what you're doing. Your choices are like, you have more calculated choices. You move your body, like you understand that sleep is important. You make sure to hydrate. Like it doesn't have to be like this extreme thing. But I think that because it's like going against what is average, then I feel like people get judged for that often. But then I was saying to someone too, we're automatically put into like, for my YouTube people that are here, I hope that you can see this visual because I really like it for myself. There are extremes, right? So, like, you have the extreme over here that say, I mean, competitors can be really extreme when it comes to fitness and when it comes to their training, when it comes to the nutrition. And then you have the complete other extreme where, like, you're not doing anything. Like, you do not care. There is not an ounce in you that cares, right? And then there is the middle. Do you see how big this is in the middle? Like, you can be on that spectrum and it's okay where you fall. And people need to understand that, like, if you're over here and it works for your life, fantastic. If it's over here and it works for your life, fantastic. As long as, like, in the middle, wherever you find yourself in this big spectrum, this big gray area that no one likes to be in because it's so not cozy, it doesn't put you in a definite box, right? And I
Yes.
think that's how we are. We're like, you must be in that box. Oh, you work out, you're in this box. You don't work out, you're in this box. No, 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 no. There is this like this whole spectrum of grayness that you can be within as long as it's not disrupting your day-to-day life and negatively impacting you. Sit wherever that works for you within this huge area right here. And guess what? Everyone's going to be different, and that's okay. Like, I think we as humans like to be in a box, and we like to put people in a box. So, like, it's confusing for us when we're like, I don't understand. What do you mean you go out to dinner? That doesn't make any sense because you're in the box of the fitness. Fitness doesn't go out to dinner, like, right? You're like, no, actually, fitness does go out to dinner because here's where I lie on this spectrum.
Okay, so first of all, your arms are really distracting. If you're not watching, I'm gonna need you to continue listening to the podcast, and then at some point, I'm gonna need you to log on and watch the video because Danica is sitting here talking to me about important shit, and all I can think the whole time is that the separation between your delt and your fucking bicep is pissing me off because
That wasn't the takeaway. That's that wasn't the takeaway of that message. It was a really important message.
I have an important part of it too. Okay, so Vic always, literally that whole time, I was like, damn. So Vic, I'll complain to him about something where I'm like, God, people are like, whatever. And he's like, babe, what you have to remember is like life is a bell curve and that there's always going to be people in the tiny little shitty areas of the bell curve. So even if a lot of people are up here and we're living kind of at the top of the hill, you know, various little parts of it, there are people that are all the way down here who are like pissed off or who are just never going to put the work to get up there, right? And I mean, we all know those people in life who, even if they have been dealt a hand, even if that was shitty or, you know, rough situations or whatever it was, even if they were given a good situation, that specific person, and you can all visualize one, isn't going to do shit about it. And they're just going to complain about it. No, if I know, how am I supposed to go to the gym? Well, yeah, I can do it for the next month or two, but what about when my schedule changes? And like, oh, well, I could start healthy eating, but then the holidays are coming and Sundays are going to happen. So why even bother? And it's like they always have a reason for why it's not going to work, right? I was just recently talking to somebody who messaged me on Instagram and they were like, they're doing the challenge. And I love to help with this stuff, right? But like with this, I had a bit of like, I don't know what you want me to say. Um, like, hey, I'm going on this vacation. I'm going to be there for 2 weeks. What should I do? I can't do anything. And I was like, well, I would walk a lot. I would just go for a lot of walks. And then maybe, you know, since you're paying to stay at this place and you're giving them your money, I would reach out to them and maybe be like, hey, I have some dietary restrictions. Can we make sure these kinds of things are at the meal? Or like, could you tell me what I could expect to be eating in this situation? You know, something like that. And then I had said, go for walks. And she was like, I'm not allowed to go for walks. Wait,
Oh,
like, I'm sorry. What? And she's going to be out on a ranch, right? In Montana. And she's like, I was told I wasn't allowed to go for walks because of the animals. And I was like, all day? I mean, I wouldn't go out first thing in the morning by yourself if you're not comfortable on trails. She's like, nope, I was told there could be snakes any point of the day. I shouldn't leave without a gun, and I'm not going to carry a gun. And so I can't go for walks. Maybe I'll do burpees. And I was like, oh, ew, don't do burpees. Don't do anything if you can't go for walks. Never, just scratch the whole plan. Because I'm never, I'll never tell you to do burpees. Ew. Especially not like outside. Well, but it was like one of those things, and I get it. And if you're listening, I love you and I'm sorry. But in that moment when I was talking about, like, when we were chatting back and forth, I wanted to be like, I don't feel like we're approaching this conversation or this question that you're asking from a place of I'm ready to do what I can. It feels like more of a confirmation of, hey, I'm going to tell you all the reasons. I'm not going to do anything for it. And that way, when nothing happens the way I wanted it to, I can say, well, it wasn't my fault. And like, that was just kind of the vibe it was giving. And there's like, if you go into it that way, you're going to stay at the bottom of the bell curve. We're not going to get there, right? Like, we're not going to make that climb. And the fact is, anything worth having, especially in this world of a bizarre level of consumption and availability and immediacy and, you know, living an Amazon Prime life, where yesterday I bought, now that I think about it, my lamp didn't show up. Yesterday I bought myself a lamp, and the reason I picked that lamp was because it said it could be delivered between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. yesterday. It's not here. So now I gotta go figure that out. Now that I forgot about it. But like, we live in a place where I can be like, yeah, I want that one, and I want it here in 3 hours. And it is becoming an issue with everything else, because now all of a sudden we're looking at a lot of different things in life. And it's like, you know, oh, well, you don't actually have to do that. Like, okay, let's look at education. All of a sudden now it's like lame to be educated. Oh, don't spend that much time on education. That's terrible. Don't put money into education. That's terrible. All right, bro, how much do you have, person who has that opinion? I would like to know if you hold a degree. Bet you don't. And like, that's because we see the value in the time spent and the work put in and where it got us to, right? And the pursuit of education. And yes, it's difficult. I am sure that you wrote a number of papers that you would have rather put your head through your laptop than finish doing the references page for it.
Oh God. Yes.
That's why, because you did that though, is why I enjoy talking to you.
Right.
Right. Like, and then it comes to people saying, you know, you look at Instagram and stuff like that, what gets most popular, or I mean, look at our consult calls. How many times do you talk to somebody where they're doing YouTube workouts, or they're doing this or that? I saw this influencer, they said all I had to do was do these things. So I implemented them. It didn't work. I don't understand why. And it's like, well, because it's never as simple as the little things. It is a commitment to being the weirdo where, like, my family knows if we go on a vacation, my husband has to deal with the fact that there's the pile of my vacation clothes and there's a pile of Christina's running clothes, and they all have to get packed. And yeah, I'm going to be annoying and I'm going to go for a run in the morning. And you're probably going to hear the hotel door shut in the dark while I sneak out to not ruin our family vacation. Does it ruin my life to go for those runs? I find it a little annoying, but I love it every time. But there's still moments where I'm like, I'd rather sleep in on vacation. And then I think about how I'm going to feel at 1 p.m. that day, when I'm frazzled and I'm out of routine. I'm already eating weird foods. My kids aren't used to what's going on. Our schedule is fucked. And I didn't take the time to get my heart rate up that morning and have my head feel better. Like, no, I'm not putting myself into that position. Like, are you strict about the fact that you strict loosely, right? It's funny, the idea of using strict loosely. Like, do you have boundaries you want held to in your home and with your children and stuff like that around things? Yeah, but that came from a place of you knowing how your children respond digestion and behavior wise when they have different foods and they're
Right.
outside of things.
Right.
And like the other person might say, what's the big deal? It's 22 seconds that they get to spend shoving a Krispy Kreme into their face. And it's like, yeah, except for when they're done with that one and then they're sticky and in 10 minutes they're crying because they want three more. But like, I don't want them to have that. And I don't even have that many. And I wish I had started them on something that got them a bit more stable so we wouldn't be dealing with this. And like, and so there's a lot more to it. And I find that people who have trouble reaching their goals or people who have trouble understanding others who reach their goals, it has a ton to do with how open their mind is going into things. Is it a place of I'm going to learn what I can about this and whether or not it works for me? Or is it this better fucking work? Because I feel like that's what people go into it. Like, well,
Yeah.
just tell me this is going to be the one thing. I'm like,
Right.
I don't know, man. I'd
Yeah.
love for it to work. It works for most of my clients. We're going to try it. It might not. I don't think I told you about this. I worked with my client, Emily, years ago. Gosh, her son is a toddler now. And we stopped working together while she was pregnant. So like it's been a couple of years, but we've stayed in contact. She works out excessively hard. She works at this very cool gym, or works out at this very cool gym in DC. I've seen her training videos. I knew how much effort she was putting into things. I talked to her and her husband routinely while we were like coaching. I knew so much about this woman and her diet and her training and all of this kind of stuff. And if you were to ask me before she messaged me last week to give me an update, if you had asked me about like if there was ever a client I felt like I failed, I would have said Emily is probably the only one. And not like failed in support or anything like that. I could not figure out what to do with her body. Like it wouldn't do anything we wanted it to. And like there'd be point I remember I sent her like a check-in video like where I was like teared up and I was like, I don't know, babe. I don't know what else to do. Like nothing's working. We're not getting the responses we're looking for. We've tried everything. And like I am now at the point where I have to say, I don't know. Like I don't know what to do next. And so our answer to it, we had been pursuing fat loss. Our answer to it was to give up because we kept losing like 7 or 8 pounds. But I mean, she was in a place where she wanted to lose like 40. And so we would have like a small shift and then we'd hit a wall and then it would come back. And then and it seemed like no matter what we did, it kept moving in the wrong direction. And like, it was the most frustrating thing. She emailed me last week out of the blue and was like, so we did the little catch up and everything. And she's like, I wanted to let you know, I got diagnosed with lipedema. And I was like, what? This makes so much sense. It wasn't us. It was never us. Like it was just the fact that it wasn't going to work out. And quite frankly, I was not equipped for the best way to cover that. I was not. And like as soon as she said it, I mean, she's like the poster child for it. And I want to be like, how did doctors never, because we had doctors involved, like a whole thing. And now she got this diagnosis and it's like, thank God Emily kept pursuing. Thank God that after all of the time and the diligence of like 3 years of coaching and then continuing her fitness, she never said, well, I'm just not going to do this workout thing anymore because it's not getting me where I wanted to be. She got super heavy into like the powerlifting and like, I'm going to be crazy strong. And that's always my go-to as a coach. If I can't figure shit out, I'm like, you know what? Worst case scenario, let's get fucking strong. And so like one way or another, that'll serve us. Yeah. And so, she kept pursuing all of that. And so she's checking all of these boxes that are 100% going to do better things for her health. Just maybe weren't moving that one marker that we were looking for. But because she didn't give up on herself and just say, well, that's my family. I'm big boned. I have bad genetics, or like whatever it is that like the story that people allow to settle in and become this like robe that they wear where it's like, I'm not allowed to do that because I wear this. She kept going. And now she has a life-changing answer to something that was going on with her body, where now she can be equipped to work with that and figure out. She was like, do you know anybody who helps work with this, or do you have any history with it? And I was like, no, like I know enough to have an interesting conversation about it. I would need to learn more. And so I had told her, I was like, give me a couple weeks, I'll dive into it. Like new hyperfixation, let's learn. And so if anybody out there in the world knows of anybody who has more experience with that stuff, and like I would love to soak up podcasts or like easy, not that that would make me an expert, but like give me some easy to soak up information. Because like how curious is that? That blew my mind, getting that information, because that's she's the one that's, I've never had anything stump me the way that stumped me before.
But good for you too, for being able to be like curious about things instead of assuming. Because you could have been like, she's not listening. She's not following protocol. She's not doing what I'm telling her to do. She's like, you could have been right there and been like, I'm sorry, this isn't a good fit. Like
100%.
Assume.
Vic had said, like, while we were working together, because I would, talk to him sometimes about clients where I'd be like, another check-in and I just don't understand. And I'd be talking to him about it. And like, babe, she's so strong. And like, tell him about the videos and that I'd be seeing of her training. And he was like, she's not telling you the truth, babe. And he'd like try to like let me down easy, where he's like, I know you want to believe the best about people and stuff, but she's got to just not be telling you everything. And I was like, I knew like in my soul, like no, why would she put this much effort into like this heartache in her check-ins and stuff like that if that was what was happening? Because we know, right? First of all, we're moms. We know if you're lying.
We know.
Second, we've been coaching for a really long time. And so like we can kind of pick up what's going on, what you're putting down. And yeah, gosh, that was a tricky one. But the curiosity, how boring would life be? Like that goes back to my whole idea of like, why aren't you pushing yourself hard? Like I want to ask people, why aren't you trying something new and scary? Why aren't you doing the hard thing? Like how boring to look. I cannot fathom, like I don't have the ability to be chill enough to just be like, this is life, and then and just live that. Like I am somebody who very much needs to be like, but what's over there? And go figure it out and then try it on for size. Like, oh, that's a fun hobby for you. Maybe I'll like it. I hate that. Try something new and like rotate with stuff, because we get this one life to hang out on this spinning rock in a vacuum, and that's wild. And so why not push boundaries and see what you're capable of and say, I do not accept status quo in my life, and these are the boundaries that I'm going to put up to protect it. Because the fact is, Danica loves knowing that she looks jacked as hell in this tank top, and she likes knowing that she can carry herself that way. But it takes that effort, right? Like we've gotten to a place with our physiques where we can, like I felt guilty this summer. One of my clients was like, I'm so proud of myself for keeping up the lifting routine you gave me. Like I told myself I'm doing what Christina does. And I was like, oh babe, I got to be real honest with you. I need you to know you're doing better than me this summer. I hope this helps, but like you go to the gym like 3 times more often than I do, and I have been an absolute shitbird. But like you said, it's the spectrum of things, or it's the hill with the bell curve I was talking about, where
Right.
maybe it's sometimes you fell down the hill and now we're working on climbing back up. Maybe you're up there and you can sit down and you can chill. Like there's different phases with it. And you have to sit down and just focus on the end goal, like the end ride. And how do we make each day as enjoyable while we're focused on that ride? And then going back to when we were talking about people who have stupid things to say, don't let them. That's allowed. You know what I mean? Like, make them feel silly. Use Danica's trick.
That's
Tell
so
more.
interesting.
Oh, you know what I've seen? one for responding was, oh my gosh, it was something along the lines of like, um, you must know a lot of that about that to say it so confidently. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and or like or different like things
Yeah.
that were kind of along those same lines where, oh no, the other one was, I've never heard somebody say that out loud.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Using that with people where I'm like, oh. And the thing, I have to practice my Danica smile and approach where I look welcoming as I say the shitty sarcastic thing because my face is just like, the here's your sign. Like,
Oh, here. Oh my
oh,
gosh. I often say, I appreciate you for saying that. Where like they feel appreciated, even though they know that that was a dig. But I'm like, I appreciate you. That's so interesting. How did you expect that to make me feel? I'm
what was your plan for how that was going to land?
I'm genuinely curious. How did you expect me to respond to that? Just so curious about this.
In your head, how did this conversation play out? Like, we should do a whole conversation on how to be catty. Um,
I always say though, it is really good to have the art in a healthy way, in a very healthy, productive way, the art of manipulation within a conversation where there's no fuel to the fire, there's no ammo back and forth. It is just literally like being able to like take away someone's ammo and like keep peace, like keep a very solid
yeah.
peace. Yeah. I mean, right. Sometimes we have to play the game too. Sometimes you gotta rock with confidence the way you're gonna live your life, and then expect that judgment is gonna come because we're not all the same, and be able to like embrace it almost and say like, well, thank you. Like thank you for that. Like it just reminded me of like how confident I am in what I'm doing.
Yeah. And so I like to do Peloton runs, right? I do those all the time with the instructors, and they're always talking to people because they go through and do like their little shout outs to people and stuff like that. And they always, there's these two instructors I love, have to have these conversations about like, you are a runner. Like somebody's little name will be like, not a runner. And then they're there with me in like a 75-minute endurance class. Now I'm like, friend, you're a runner if you're doing this. Like, and so they'll be like, you are a runner, you should see yourself that way, you should believe in that and stuff. And I know I've got clients, I know there are transformation challenge people and things like that who listen, who take the time out to say, I'm going to listen to Danika and Christina talk about parenting and fitness and the lifestyle and stuff like that for an hour and 6 minutes. They saw the podcast length and said, yep, buckle up, let's go. And we're willing to do that. And like right there, that tells me you are a kind of person who wants new information in your mind. You are the kind of person who wants to soak that up, who sees people who, for one reason or another, there is something that you're drawn to, and you're like, you know what? I want that for me. So I'm going to put the time in to listen to it, and I'm going to learn, and then I'm going to try and go from there. And so like carry that with you. If you're somebody here who's like, I don't know how to have those conversations, I'm not good at doing those boundaries, I don't work out all the time, I'm just learning how to do this, I'm afraid of the weight room, whatever that is, girlfriend, you're here. You're doing it. And so own that more confidently. Like Danica just said, if you're going to do this, and you've decided this is who you're going to be, then like right now, I want you to shrug on your like jacket of being a part of this cool kids club. Welcome. This is the party. I hope you're having a good time. We don't have cookies. We should have cookies. But
Mixed nuts. I have mixed nuts. You can bring them to the party.
Ooh, I love those. What brand are those?
Well, market deluxe mixed nuts, sea salt. So a little bit of like sea salt.
Good little sea salt one. I got suckered in. The only time I really buy nuts is fall and Christmas. I got fall spiced and like candied cashews.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I left the bag in my pantry, front and center, where I could see it every time I opened it. And it was right there. And I wouldn't open it though. because I was like, yeah, I mean, nuts are hard.
Nuts
Like,
are
there's,
hard.
like 4 of them, and you're like,
I
what do you
know.
17
When
grams
you,
of fat?
when you actually measure out an ounce, you're like, no way.
Like, I'd just rather not have it in the house. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
no way. It's like measuring out your whipped cream to 2 tablespoons per serving. No,
Nobody's gonna have time for that.
no one knows this.
Someone asked me about weighing out their ketchup, and I was like, don't
No.
you dare. Like,
Negative.
it's calorie free. Move on. Like, unless you are sitting there with your ketchup, like, like, what are you doing?
Yes.
That is not something we're worried about. Okay. Well, guys, sorry, that was random. I literally said to Danica, I was like, let's just start recording and we'll let the new recording software and its AI tell us what our topic was.
Boom. I'm so curious what it's going to say.
I'm dying to see what the title is.
Yes.
So if you enjoyed it, let us know. If there is a specific coach at ProPhysique that you would like us to add on, to our rotation, let us know and we'll make sure to have as many of our coaches on as possible. Paul is going to be joining us, not next week, I think the week after that, pretty soon. So that'll be fun. He'll be hanging out with us a little bit more too. This is kind of
if like they hear this too, I would say if there's any of like, we talked about a lot of different things, but if there's any topics that we did cover today that you want us to expand on.
Yes.
No.
We are happy to take constructive criticism. And unless you're going to tell me to stop saying fuck, I honestly don't care. I'm sorry. Like that criticism I don't care about. But it's proven smart people do it. But if you have topic recommendations, if you have questions, I love a good Q&A. I did an Instagram live. I had so much fun. I was talking to myself for like an hour and a half. Like you're just sitting there having a conversation with your phone while people type things to you. I love that stuff. We truly just love getting to coach, right? Like that's the fun part, answering the questions, making it easier. It wasn't always, I was gonna say it wasn't always easy for us, but it also isn't always easy. I rehired my coach. Did I tell you that? I had to rehire Sam, my nutritionist, because I was like, Sam, I'm acting like an asshole. Okay. Like I randomly gained like 6 pounds in the month of July. And I mean like, boom, like immediately. And I was like, wait,
it was like, let's be honest, it was like 3 and 3.
Yeah, probably.
Like
Boop. No, those have always been that.
No, your butt cheeks.
Oh, I was like, boobs? I was like, but they fit you forever. Yeah, butt cheeks, 100%. That's exactly where it goes. And I could feel it was the thing. Like I had been in my sweet spot, but my training ramped up, my appetite ramped up, and I wasn't paying attention and got lazy with it. And then when I tried to buckle down myself, and then I was like, I can't be trusted here. I literally was like, Sam, these are the macros that I set for myself, and I just need supervision because I'm blowing them off. And and it's been great. And sometimes we just need that. Like I'm always telling clients when they're like, I've tried it. I know all of these things. It should be working. Why isn't it working? And I'm like, maybe you just need somebody who hangs out with you during it. Because sometimes you just need somebody else to hold that part of the stress so that you can just act. And like, you don't have to think about it. And so looking for that, whether it's a coach or maybe it's just a person who's in the trenches that you're comfortable talking about this kind of stuff with, or something like group coaching with Danica, where you get to be in a small group and you get to really intimately have those conversations and dive in and make close connections, or the challenge. At the end of the challenge, there will be posts of people who are like, hi, I've been lurking for 62 days and here I am. And they'll have been in the group the whole time, setting it up, but they weren't comfortable till the end. And it's like, hey, I'm glad you're here. So, well, I'll stop blabbing because Danica has to mom now. She's being very good at hiding. I love it.
I know.
Entertaining herself screen free this whole time.
Yes.
I applaud you. I bet
some parents would judge me.
I'm sure they would. And I hope that they have a parenting Nobel Peace Prize to show
Right.
us for all of their efforts.
She was, playing the piano. What else were you doing
The
there?
wolf spider.
And she's playing with a wolf spider. That's fine.
Yes. You weren't afraid of the wolf spider?
Well, it was just crawling on the top of the piano.
She was playing the piano too. So
Yes. I love that. What a brave girl you are. Because a lot of people would have been scared and smashed the spider, but you were like, hey, friend, let's hang out.
hey, friend, I don't have anyone else right now to play with. Do you mind playing with me?
Mom's over there. I love it. Well, Johnson, ladies.
Awesome.
That used to be my last name. I'm so glad to have hung out with you guys today. And like we said, let us know if you guys have anything else that comes up. Oh, and if you listened to last week's YouTube when I had it set to 200% speed on YouTube, my apologies. Danica.
Oh, that's funny.
I posted this morning YouTube as a chipmunk, and I had to double time the video. Well, I needed to add pictures in at points. Paul and I had said like on the YouTube, look at the picture. So I had to go back and listen, and so I put it at double time so I could find it, and then I uploaded it that way. So this morning I wake up and my phone is blowing up with notifications where they're like, you sound like a chipmunk. I refuse to listen to the podcast this way. Someone said,
no.
You weren't supposed to.
This was an accident. Oh my God.
100 people had seen it when I had done it that way.
Oh well. Oh well. Oh well.
Yay! All right, guys. Well, you go have a lovely day.
I will.
Hopefully the drive home from camp and everything treats you well. And next week we'll be back chatting some more. Everyone will be in school next week, and we'll have some good times. So
we will.
All right, guys. Talk to you soon.